As I was collecting my Famicom games, Crossfire held a special interest for me. It's one of the very rare run-and guns on the Famicom to never get a US release. The Famicom game's actually entirely in English. Well, kind of, they truncate a lot of place names. But for some reason it just never got US distribution. This is the third and final Famicom game from microscopically small publisher Kyugo Boeki. Crossfire was actually developed as a sequel to one of their previous games, Airwolf. In fact, if you listen to the music on the title screen, you can tell it's a barely changed version of the Airwolf theme. And the really weird thing about that is that they didn't change the title because they lost the license. Early in 1991, they'd release a game called Super Airwolf on the Mega Drive, and then release that as Crossfire in the US. They're actually two completely separate games. Now, Crossfire is a run-and-gun with no helicopter action in it, but if you think that's a reason to change the title, I have to point out that Airwolf's fourth season didn't have Airwolf in it either. The plot of Crossfire is that a terrorist organization that remains unnamed has set up secret bases in 6 countries. The CIA wants them taken out, so they send in their top agent, Eric. And that is literally all of the plot from the manual. When you start the game, you can punch. A jumps, B attacks, and your attack is pretty pitiful. The big gimmick in Crossfire is that there's enemies that are in the background. And besides being able to punch, you can throw grenades into the background. You have to hit up and B to do this, and they travel in a pretty wide arc. Despite what you might expect, hitting enemies directly with the throw works. And it's probably the most effective approach. You can punch boxes and sometimes find power-ups in them, and there are 2 kinds of power-ups. The most important one is a gun. Every time you collect one of these gun power-ups, you can fire 1 more bullet. So you go from fist, to single shot, to 2-shot spread, to 3-shot spread. After that, collecting a gun icon turns the bullets into missiles, and if you collect another gun icon, it turns the missiles back into bullets. Why would you want to turn missiles back into bullets? Well, because every time you collect a gun icon, you also gain a point of health. You start with 4 health, but the maximum health is much higher than that. I never did find the cap myself. The missiles do more damage, but not that much more damage. So I'd actually recommend just constantly collecting the health. The other icon that you can find gives you 3 points of health, and that's it. And those icons are actually a bit rare. When using the gun, you can no longer throw grenades. Instead, you aim upward if you do that. But when you have the gun, you can shoot things in the background as though they're on the same plane as you. It doesn't really look right, and honestly, I'd rather they let you keep the grenades to use with the background enemies and have the bullets pass over them. You can climb certain ladders and ropes, though that's used very rarely in the game, and it doesn't work very well. For example, at this spot you have to keep climbing this ladder, but you can't jump onto it or walk onto it and then press up. There's one specific pixel on the right-hand side where you can stand on the ground and then start climbing. Do anything else and you just fall through. Another issue is that the hitboxes are a bit ambiguous. You can't duck underneath certain attacks that look like they'd pass right over your head, for example. One more big issue with Crossfire is that there are traps. Sometimes, seemingly at random, something will just drop out of the sky on you. I thought it might be a hurry-up mechanic, but it's not consistent on the timing there, and while there are some spots that will consistently trigger a trap, there are others where it's only some of the time. So just sometimes while you're playing, you'll get hit by something out of nowhere. There are some nice touches in Crossfire, though. Your character changes outfits on different stages so that he's appropriately dressed for the environment. And the bosses all have weapon pods where you can shoot them off. It's a vital tactic to disarm the boss first. Your gun also auto-fires as fast as it can. Good for when you're running around, but not so good when you need a precise shot. You're given 3 lives and 3 continues with which to beat Crossfire, but if that's not enough, there is this cheat code that will let you do a level select. You have to hit A and B to select which level you'll start at and then press select to begin. You can also cheat to refill your life. Pause the game by pressing start, then hold down A, B, and select, and hit start again. Crossfire is a bit of a rare game in Japan, but it's also not especially popular. Right now, after the big jump in prices on Famicom games, you can expect to pay about 6,000 to 7,000 yen for a copy. But this is a game that nobody remembers exists. The only people I could find talking about it were Famicom collectors mentioning picking it up. My own view on it is that I think Crossfire has a lot of nice touches, but also a lot of rough edges. I feel like the movement isn't smooth enough, and the way that they implemented the background enemies doesn't really work. And because of the way that the powered-up gun doesn't shoot straight, it becomes advantageous to just stop and take out every enemy extremely slowly. There is a lot of stuff I like in Crossfire, but those positives wind up being just about equally balanced with critical flaws. This isn't a game I wouldn't play, but I also won't be returning to it very often.